Welcome to Legalese on Me, where we make complicated legal issues clear, simple, and easy to understand so you can know your rights and walk in your power. Today, we're going to be talking about NDAs or non-disclosure agreements. Now, I know it doesn't seem like the most exciting topic in the world. I know. What does that have to do with the social media lawyer and content creators and small business? What does it have to do with any of that? A lot. That's the problem. You don't know what it has to do with it. That's why I'm here. Your girl is a teacher. Call me the professor today. I'm going to teach you. NDAs are extremely important. You probably have signed one at some point in your life. If you are employed, you've definitely signed one because every company worth their salt requires an NDA as a part of an employment agreement. Why? Because they don't want you running off with their proprietary information, or they don't want you telling your friends how the sauce is made, literally. But how do NDAs impact content creators, social media influencers, and why would a small to mid-sized business go through the trouble of executing a non-disclosure agreement? Well, first, let me explain to you what it is. An NDA has a few very important elements in it that you need to know about, most of which is confidentiality. So think about all of the hard work you do for your business, your brand, your building your content, your portfolio. Well, if you're going to be sharing that, if you're going to be giving people a peek behind the curtains, you should have a non-disclosure agreement in place, which dictates what they can and cannot do with the information that you share with them. Now, a big difference between an NDA and a confidentiality agreement that you typically find in the contract is when it's executed. Typically, NDAs are executed before a formal contract is signed. So let me give you a few examples of how that might happen. If you are thinking of working with a brand and a brand wants to give you a look at maybe their ad goals, their campaigns that haven't been released yet, to give you, just a bit of context for what they're going for so that you can decide whether or not you want to move forward in the deal, or, even if it's a type of content that you want to be creating, whatever the case may be, if they give you access to that information that has not been made available for public consumption, they're likely going to ask you to sign a non-disclosure agreement. The same if you are the brand or the business owner and you are looking to work with other creators, and that requires you, as a part of those pre-contract negotiations, to give that content creator a look behind the curtain at what your business model is, what your marketing goals are, things that wouldn't be readily available to people in the public domain. Those things you want to have covered by a non-disclosure agreement. A non-disclosure agreement is going to limit what the other person can do in terms of how that information is shared with third parties, with how that information is transferred. It's going to provide all kinds of protections that are absolutely important to cover your interest. Now, non-disclosure agreements are also used by celebrities. In entertainment law, we like to talk about celebrities. And we know that social media law is, it's the sister cousin to entertainment law. And very famously, someone that, most of us are familiar with had a big news story about an NDA. And I want to just pause for a minute and talk about this. And this really has nothing to do with social media, except for I know a lot of my girlies on social media and a lot of my guys on social media need to know this. And because I am the good auntie that I am, I'm going to share it with you. This is an NDA potentially gone bad. Tiger Woods asked the court not to invalidate an NDA that he executed with his ex-girlfriend, Erica Herman. Now, this is special. Miss Erica was politely escorted to the airport by Tiger Woods' team and told that she was not to return to their palatial Martin County residence. Yes, they resided in a nice big house in Florida. And I guess Miss Erica really started to get on Mr. Woods' nerves, and he wanted to put her out, and he did so. And she said, not so fast, not so fast. She's suing him to be released from the non-disclosure agreement so that she can talk openly about their relationship, which included terms for which he promised to care for her. All right? Now, there's only a couple of ways to invalidate a non-disclosure agreement, and the one that she is choosing to use is a claim of sexual assault or sexual harassment. Now, I don't want to turn this into a salacious news report, but child, that's messy. Really? Now, Mr. Woods came out and said to the court, the Martin County Circuit Court, listen, there has never been any allegations. You can look high and low, you won't find any from Miss Erica Herman or anyone else that I've ever sexually abused her, harassed her, or anything. This is simply just an attempt for her to invalidate this non-disclosure agreement so that she can drag my name through the mud and get money and get back into whatever she thinks she deserves from his estate. And we'll wait to see what happens there. Also, in the non-disclosure agreement, there was a arbitration clause. So in a non-disclosure agreement, like any other agreement, is going to have several clauses that dictate, including how the contract is to be litigated should there be a violation. Any attorney worth their salt would probably offensively add that if there is a violation, we're going to duke it out in arbitration versus court because, one, we don't want a judge or a jury to make a decision about whether or not I violated, whether or not I didn't. We'd rather have one arbitrator that can hear both sides. It's just a lot less messy to work it out in arbitration versus a courtroom. Trust me, I'm a former litigator and I loved fighting it out in court. But it takes a lot of energy and resources to do that. So arbitration, the way to go. Miss Erica Herman's not trying to have it. And she says that it is violating her rights under the Federal Speak Out Act and Florida state statutes. So we'll see what happens there. But I want to say this. If you rise to the levels of fame or infamy because of your social media persona, having an NDA with anyone who is entering into your personal space that will have access to you and to your business, into your brand, into your personal life, and access to information, again, that you don't want available to the public, have an NDA. And that's in all seriousness. No, you may not be Tiger Woods and you may not be Erica Herman, but you should think of yourself as highly rich and famous and get NDAs. Because I am just the biggest proponent of protecting everything that is yours to the fullest and thinking ahead as if the bad thing has already happened and making sure that you have the right protections in place. Just in case. If you don't need it, great. If you do, you got it. All right. So now back to more common issues, because hopefully most of you are not driving your girlfriends or your boyfriends to the airport and leaving them there, and then having them sue you for violating your non-disclosure agreements. But you might have more traditional non-disclosure agreement issues that we'll touch upon. For example, collaborating with influencers, again, content creators on social media. If you want to work with another influencer. So this isn't the case where you're working with a brand. The brands will almost always, if they're giving you something at the start of the relationship, they're going to send you an NDA. That's probably a part of their process. But you, as an influencer, if you are going to be working with another influencer and that requires access to you, to your information, to your content, that again, this is what I want you to remember. Is it available for public consumption? That's the test. And if the answer is no, this is not something that I want everyone to know about, to see, to have access to, then consider providing that other person that you're partnering with a non-disclosure agreement. No offense in that. It's just a protection. Again, in case the bad thing were to happen, everybody's protected. Now, as in the execution of any contract, the other person has the right to take that agreement and have someone look at it, to redline it. That means to put their terms in to make sure that it is favorable to their needs as well. In an NDA, that would be relevant if they were also providing confidential information or things that are not available for public consumption or have not already been provided in the public domain. Otherwise, making an NDA mutual wouldn't really make sense. It would be a big waste of time. But don't feel bad about sliding your piece of paper across the table and asking someone that you're partnering with on content creation to sign it, again, if you're giving them something that you don't want to be made more widely available. When you create sponsored content for a brand, again, you may need to receive products as a part of that. If that product has not already been released, a brand may ask you to sign a non-disclosure agreement. Don't feel crazy about it. They're not trying to trip you up. That makes perfect sense because they want to make sure that you are not going to put a product launch at jeopardy. They say sign a non-disclosure agreement. If you are a business, a product-based business, and you are working with influencers on a product that has not been launched, you got it. You should have them sign a non-disclosure agreement that ensures they will not communicate about that product prior to its launch. And even when they do communicate, that they don't share anything that you want to remain confidential and protected. That's clear. When you are pitching, so if you are not pitching, you will be soon because we're all growing and glowing up. So you'll be pitching to potential investors, as a content creator to help grow your personal brand. As a brand, you'll be pitching to investors to help grow your business, your product line, your service offerings, whatever it may be. Well, when you do your pitch decks and when you do your other presentations to potential investors, make sure you have them execute non-disclosure agreements because you're giving them a peek behind the curtain and you don't want to be at risk at having your ideas taken and used in a way that harms you. So a non-disclosure agreement is going to be key to make sure that you are protected. So an NDA, we don't talk about it a lot, but that is another way to make sure that you are protecting your content, your interest, your brand, and your ability to fully keep what is yours, what is theirs. And that's what you need to know. This legalese on me is on me. And we want to make sure that you know your rights and responsibilities so that you can walk in your power. Thank you for joining. See you next time.
Talking all things legally, legalese only for entrepreneurs and content creators.